These are the grazing lands, the rangelands of this country. Nearly 900 million acres of them, over a third of the United States, devoted for generations to the raising of livestock.
All right, who's excited to actually talk about this food and get this thing going?
It's super impolite to look at people when they eat spaghetti. Don't look at me.
At First Nations, we have this fairly strong core belief that when armed with the appropriate resources, Native American communities have the wherewithal and the capacity to fix their own problems. Our goal at First Nations is to provide a little bit of financial and technical assistance resource to make these things happen.
Instead of asking what's wrong, what do we need to fix, they asked us, what are your strengths? What do you do well? And instead of asking what's the answer to diabetes, it was asking us what lessons have our ancestors taught us to be stronger.
Native food systems, like other assets in American Indian communities, have been colonized, destroyed, altered. So the work of First Nations and our Native Agriculture and Food Systems Initiative is really about assisting tribes to regain control of their food system.
We have a Cochiti Farmers Mentorship Program where we pair a young person with an elder person and they go through a season of harvest and growing together. And as Pueblo people, we have such a strong agricultural society. Now it's my generation's responsibility to continue those agricultural practices.
We do a lot of work raising money for these projects, and then we get to show up and actually see the real work happening.
These are some of the plants that were recently planted. We got some tobacco here.
Is that used for like ceremony and stuff?
Yes, sir. The Santo Domingo Senior Center applied for a grant through the First Nations to do a greenhouse project. During the springtime, it would provide seedlings to the community. And this is an opportunity for the seniors to get additional funding for their activities and so forth. They also work with the youth in transplanting some of these seedlings with the John Hopkins program, and the seniors teach the kids the traditional values of that.
When we're here at Santo Domingo this week and we're seeing what they've built here in their greenhouse and their farming program, not just amazing projects in the physical infrastructure they build, but in the hope and the future orientation that they're building for their communities.
It teaches our younger generations the way our forefathers grew up before we had Walmart, Kmart, and all those grocery stores. They grew their own foods and they fixed their own foods traditionally.
The first time I heard the word food sovereignty was through First Nations Development Institute.
We've partnered with the Institute of American Indian Arts by providing different kinds of training and really trying to focus on developing the technical skills of producers.
A big part of our land grant capacity development is creating a model for a food system for communities. Our raised beds features the waffle garden technology in conjunction with some drip irrigation. We're marrying that modern ag technology that doesn't compromise that cultural element.
And that's, I think, is some of the coolest stuff we do is when we work with Luke and we work with the folks here at IAIA, they're making that connection for these Indian youth to understand that they had deep scientific knowledge for a very long time.
Many of our programs that we all participate in strengthen the body, mind, and spirit of a Native person to be able to move forth into the future, to take this to the next generation, because that's really what it's all about, the next generation.
To learn more about First Nations and their work with Native agriculture and food system programs, visit firstnations.org or nativefoodsystems.org.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in tonight for the film program of our Reclaiming Native American Food Traditions fundraiser in partnership with First Nations Development Institute, the CU Boulder College of Media, Communications and Information, and Slow Food Boulder County. We are presenting a film program with Gather, a documentary about Native Americans reclaiming their food traditions to heal themselves and their people, and a panel discussion and Q&A. If you can't join us for the entire film program or miss the earlier chef's demo with Ben Jacobs and Matt Chandra of Takabi, Native American restaurant in Denver, the live stream will be recorded and you can watch the entire program until midnight on October 11th. We also have some great programs scheduled in the next few months. Please join us for a virtual health and nutrition program on Sunday, November 15th. And our 8-day virtual festival from January 28th to February 5th, with 10 feature films and 3 short film programs, esteemed speakers for every feature film, local art, lectures, and food and film related events. More details about all of our future events, including our festival, will be on our website and other channels like Facebook. Thank you to our partners and to the City of Boulder for including us in their Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. We appreciate the generosity of Takabi for making Native American dinners available for this event, and thanks to Ben and Matthew for their demo earlier tonight, and the speakers for the upcoming panel who have taken time to talk with us.
And now, we'd like to give a shout out to our Silver Spoon sponsors.
Best Served, Big Red F Group, Black Cat Bistro, Bramble and Hair, Bucha Products, Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media, Caliper, Cured, Feed Your Vibe, Highland Honey, Local Table Tours, Pack a Fork, Root Marketing and PR, Savory Spice Shop, Boulder, Spees Digital, Taste Made.
For those of you who are just now joining us, we're using a system called Eventive that automatically shows both the movie and discussion afterwards in the same window. It's new to us. Please bear with us through any glitches. If you have questions about how to use Eventive, you can access an FAQ and pose questions to Eventive support by clicking Need Help in this window. You can also put Help in the chat window. Please submit questions for the speakers through the chat function of this viewing window. Click the chat button, open the chat window, type your questions, and we'll respond promptly. Besides being a learning experience, this event is a fundraiser for the First Nations Development Institute, a nonprofit that works to strengthen American Indian economies to support healthy Native communities, and us, the Flatirons Food Film Festival. If you could dig deeper into your pockets and support us as we bring more programming to you during our January festival, the food and film gods will surely smile down on you. And if you donate $100 or more, your name will appear before each movie with other festival patrons. If you donate $1,000, I'll personally read your name out loud before a film. Venmo and festival donation links are in the chat. Here's a quick word from one of our board members, Karen Spies, about why she supports the Flatirons Food Film Festival.
Hi, I support Flatirons Food Film Festival because food is a universal. It brings all of us joy and pleasure, and sharing food is one of the most human, communal, and generous things you can do. And sometimes we can't always share food together, now for example. But also, film is a vicarious experience. It's a magical way to see through someone else's eyes. And to me, those are really precious parts of the human experience. And I really love the curated films that bring these two together. And that's something that Flatirons Food Film Festival does so well. I just think it's an experiential feast. And I would urge you to support them too, if you enjoy the programming that we put together. Thanks so much.
The film is about an hour and 15 minutes, and we're going to take a 10-minute break before getting back together here with Sanjay, Sammy Gensaw, and Twyla Casadori in the film, and Jackie Frank of First Nations, which helped produce the film. Thanks again for joining us tonight, and enjoy the movie. I now would like to introduce Sanjay Rawal, the director of Gather. In his 15 years of working on global human rights campaigns, Sanjay Rawal worked with and for several Indigenous groups. These experiences informed his ability to simply listen and be present, allowing the people profiled in Gather to drive their own narratives. His first feature, Food Chains, won numerous awards and was acquired by Netflix. His work has won an assortment of honors, including a James Beard Media Award. And now, here is Sanjay Rawal to introduce his film, Gather.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is as safe and as happy as possible in this day and age. I'm thrilled to be a part of the Flatirons Food Film Festival. I actually grew up in Boulder, Colorado. My parents were professors at CU. I was born in Nigeria, where my dad worked with indigenous farmers, and he drove throughout West Africa collecting seeds and learning about their traditional ways to develop a program in Colorado to teach regenerative agriculture. I never thought I'd be speaking about regenerative agriculture and traditional farming methods and traditional ecological knowledge to an audience based in Colorado. And I know my parents are incredibly thrilled that I made something of my life. That said, we're all here to watch Gather. Gather is a new film I directed about traditional ecological knowledge, about Native American food sovereignty. And I'm thrilled to say that our production partners, the First Nations Development Institute, are based next to you guys in Longmont, Colorado. The process has been about 4 years. I normally wouldn't have taken on a project about a deeply important indigenous topic like this. As people may or may not know, the entire documentary industry was launched by a 1929 film called Nanook of the North. A non-native filmmaker made a very staged, very rife with recreation, and a kind of morphed story about an indigenous Inuit man. Since then, it's kind of been de rigueur for documentary filmmakers to travel around the world and fly into exotic places and film people and leave. Now, some of those films have been made with the partnership of people on the ground, but most haven't. But this film, I have to say, as being a non-native, an Indian, I like to say, but the wrong kind of Indian, was made in direct partnership with some of the most vaunted activists in the native food space today. I learned a lot making this film, and I hope that you will too. My filmmaking process was simple: treat my characters like the experts they are, and stay out of the way. Our director of photography, Renan Ozturk, is also now based in Colorado, so it fills me with delight to be able to present this film with all of you guys in the audience, virtual and otherwise. So without further ado, gather.